Good afternoon. Welcome to News Hour Live on GBC News and on GTV. We're also streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Samuela Kwoti. Now, we begin this bulletin on a rather sad note where Ghana has lost another great personality, Captain Kojo Chikata. Mr. Kojo Chikata was the former head of National Security and Foreign Affairs of the Provisional National Defense Council, PNDC. He is listed as a retired army captain in the Ghana Army. Family sources say he died in the early hours on Saturday, 20th November 2021. He was 85 years. Captain Kojo Chikata was appointed in 1982 under the Jerry Rawlings administration and had been in charge of national security in 1982. He later joined the Rawlings administration on January 21, 1995. In 1995, he was asked to join a negotiating team with Dr. Ibn Chambers, the then Deputy Foreign Minister, and Brigadier General Ajimfra. He rejected a national award to be conferred on him in the category of the Order of Volta Companion and the former President John Agyekum Kufuor. He was listed as one of the 6 government officials under the NDC regime to receive the award. Captain Chikata was implicated in the kidnapping and murder of 3 High Court judges and a retired army officer on June 30, 1983 during the PNDC regime. He was brought under scrutiny, but during the National Reconciliation Commission hearing in 2003, he denied being involved with the killing of the judges.
In spite of the fact that I appeared before the SIB and denied all the allegations which have been leveled against me, that I was a prosecution witness during the trial, and that the AG did not prosecute me for the reasons that he had given. People still continue to level allegations against me as a conspirator in the crime to murder the judges and Major Alcoa. For the past 20 years, I have been living under the pain of having these allegations made against me year in, year out, until today. And I have done my best this morning to demonstrate to this commission why I believe that the ICIB, after they issued their initial report on the 6th of November, began a political conspiracy against me.
Captain Chikata received one of Angola's highest honors, known as Carlos Silva, among Angolan fighters for his role in the struggle for national independence. He was also a holder of the Solidarity Award and the Order of Carlos Manuel de Cespedes, conferred by the Council of State of the Republic of Cuba. Captain Chikata was appointed by former late Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi to a senior advisory position in charge of the Al-Mathaba Central Committee, a support center for the liberation movement and anti-imperialist and anti-Zionist organizations. Meanwhile, some close friends and family members shared some fond memories of the late Captain Kojo Chikata. He was described by many as intelligent, purposeful, focused, and had the country at heart. A member of the erstwhile PNDC and a close friend, Dr. Obede Samoa, spoke to GBC News in an interview.
It was sad news. I expected it anyway, because he had been in hospital for about 2-3 weeks now on admission. And so I was not surprised about the bad news, but naturally I didn't expect the bad news, and I was taken by shock. It was, very intelligent, very purposeful. I mean, he was focused on whatever he was doing, and he had the interest of the country at heart. and was very much involved in the liberation movements. You know, he was an Pan-Africanist, and as you know, of course, the role he played within the PNC. So he was a very good person, very kind. I know, in spite of the impressions that people have of him, he was very personable, very easy to talk. Well, I think we first met in 1949 at Ho, where we went for interview to be admitted to Achimota Secondary School. And we were both admitted in 1950, and then our friendship blossomed. And when I went to Britain in 1956 to do law, he also followed soon thereafter to do military training at the Sandhurst Military Academy. So we continued with our friendship there. He came back earlier than I did, and when I got back, we were involved in a whole number of things, and the friendship has continued ever since. And of course, more particularly politically, we were active in the PNDC regime, and and worked very closely. And he was the PNDC member in charge of foreign affairs, and I was the secretary for foreign affairs. So for the period that I was the minister, the secretary, we were called secretary in those days, he and I worked very closely together. So that has been the story.
Also in this package, a former Vice-Chancellor of KNUST and a consultant for the Comprehensive Assessment Study for the Development of the Volta Lake Inland Water Transport System, Professor Kwesi Kwafo, says that security presence on Ghana's high seas should be intensified to guarantee safety on the ships. For some time now, piracy is increasingly becoming an emerging threat to Ghana's maritime security. A report by Oferu Adako.
Piracy has been a major problem globally. It was only recently that Ghana's high seas started recording incidents of the crime.
If we look at our sub-region, we've not been safe from piracy, especially in the southeastern part of Nigeria. What happens to the oil fields and the oil fields? And in Ghana, now we see that people are even kidnapping children. If I know there are goods going to Burkina Faso in a container, if I know people are carrying valuable goods, they can capture the vessel on water.
According to annual State of Maritime Piracy report, maritime piracy peaked in 2010 on the coast of Ghana with 445 reported incidents. Figures covering 2020 show that while pirates attacked 162 ships in 2019, the number of ships attacked grew to 195 in 2020. Half a dozen of those attacks took place along the coast of Ghana. 135 crew members were kidnapped from their vessels in 2020, compared to 134 in 2019, with the Gulf of Guinea accounting for more than 95% of crew numbers kidnapped. This brings to fore the need to beef up security on Ghana's seas.
We are going to ask VLTC, Water Lake Company Limited, to employ security personnel on board the ships, on board the ferries. Otherwise, safety will not be guaranteed. So we are going to try and convince VLTC to employ safety personnel on the ships. Already, if you go there, Navy are around, but they are on the ground. They are on the landing stations. We want to escalate this onto the vessels and see what happens from there.
Statistics indicate that the seas off West Africa's oil-rich coastline are now the most dangerous in the world for shipping. Piracy in the form of hijacking and kidnapping for ransom payments is common off the coasts of Benin, Ghana, Nigeria, Congo-Brazzaville and Cameroon. For GBC News, Oferu Adako reporting.
Now, through the introduction of its virtual courts and justice portal, the Judicial Service has improved revenue mobilization, enhanced efficiency, and also reduced human contact at various courts in the country in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. This came to light at this year's annual Chief Justice Forum held in Koforidua, the Eastern Regional Capital. The Chief Justice Forum sought to engage the citizens through opinion leaders such as chiefs, teachers, traders, the National Commission for Civic Education and the clergy to address challenges the Judicial Service is confronted with in the discharge of its duties. This year's forum, which is on the theme Justice for All and a Constitutional Rule Making Justice Delivery Accessible in a Pandemic, will enable the Judicial Service to deploy innovative ways such as virtual court proceedings. The Chief Justice, His Lordship Justice Kwesi Enim-Yeboah, said in the midst of the pandemic, justice is being delivered through creative ways. He said through the Justice Portal, clients can file processes and make electronic payments without being on the court premises.
In this regard, pandemic or no pandemic, challenges or no challenges, justice is to be delivered, and it is the duty of the Judicial Service to provide a framework for the realization of this constitutional right.
The president of the Ghana Bar Association, Mr. Yao Champon, suggested that the Judicial Service involve the bar in its innovation transformation to enable its member to be abreast of the current trend. He disclosed that contrary to the impression given that most Judicial Service personnel are abreast with the recent innovations, the reality is different.
When we engage external skills, local or foreign expertise, we must operate strictly under the control of a select internal team who must jealously guide the project. It is true that any IT project must be piloted in Accra only for years before the regions have to know. It is possible to implement the legal IT projects immediately on a nationwide scale.
The Justice Forum brought together the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs, led by the President, Nene Sakite, the clergy, and opinion leaders. 60 media personnel across the country will participate in the maiden edition of a media capacity enhancement training program at Kumasi in the Ashanti region from the 6th to 9th December 2021. At the launch of the program in Accra, the chairman of the Working Committee of the Media Capacity Enhancement Program, Professor Kwamina Kwansa Edu, said the program is to help the media to effectively play its watchdog role in order to consolidate democracy for national development.
The proliferation of the media landscape in the country has brought in its wake low professionalism and disregard for ethics of the media profession. These have resulted in waning public trust and confidence in the media. To address the situation and equip journalists with the requisite skills to carry out its watchdog role effectively, the Ministry of Information and its partners have developed the Media Capacity Enhancement Program. The program targets reporters, anchors, owners of media organizations, directors and producers. The first 60 beneficiaries of the program will be participating in a 4-day training slated for the 6th to 9th December 2021 in Kumasi. Topics to be treated include media as a tool for socio-economic development and nation building, ethics and the journalism mission, journalism, media personnel and the law, digital media and online journalism and investigative journalism. The Chief Director of the Ministry of Information, Mrs. Mamle Anderson, said as the fourth estate of the REM, media personnel needs continuous training to help keep up with the changing trends of the profession.
The role of the ministry simply is to provide bursaries to participants from the media landscape who benefit from this capacity enhancement program annually. Under the program, a skills gap analysis has been conducted, a curriculum based on gaps has been identified, a faculty for training based on curriculum has also been identified and engaged, and they have been tasked to provide periodic training for media practitioners across the country.
The chairman of the Working Committee of the Media Capacity Enhancement Program, Professor Kwabena Kwansa Edu, said the program will provide job training at regular intervals for the over 900 members of the GJA, GIBA, Prempag and other media practitioners to improve their skills. Partners of the program including the National Media Commission, the Ghana Journalists Association, Institute of Public Relations, Private Newspaper Publishers Association of Ghana and the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association lauded the program and pledged their support towards its implementation.
This year's Volta Trade, Investment and Cultural Fair is underway in Ho. The fair is aimed at promoting made-in-Ghana goods to facilitate a vibrant local economic development in the region. The theme for this year's event is creating enabling environment for agribusiness, tourism and ICT companies. About 350 exhibitors are participating in the investment fair being held at the Hotspot Stadium. The event is being organized by the Volta Regional Coordinating Council in collaboration with the private sector. The organizers are hopeful that the fair will provide opportunities for businesses to showcase their products and services while taking advantage of networking opportunities. The focus will be the promotion of made-in-Ghana goods and the need to explore ways through which agribusiness, ICT and tourism can help create jobs in the region and the country at large. The Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha, said trade and investment are drivers of economic development and growth, which has helped millions of people out of poverty.
A sector scintillating with potential in tourism, the Crocodile Pond at Akachi North, Abidakwa Township, and beautiful mountains like Afajato, Adakuru, Gemi are ripe for transformation into ecotourism destinations. Gule, Agumacha, Waterfalls, and Volta Lake, Keta Lagoon, Ramsaya sites, our Goldie Bridges, and the Tafi Atome Monkey Sanctuary are waiting for transformation.
The president of the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, Dr. George Ejikum Nana Donko, said there is a need to explore ways through which agribusiness, ICT and tourism can help create jobs in the region.
The Volta region is awash with many tourist attractions which can easily become the bubble of economic activity in the region. We usually get visited on international tourist arrivals, leaving the latent potential of domestic tourism. This is an area we need to explore to complement international tourist arrivals.
The Trade and Investment Fair ends on November 28, 2021. Now, lack of basic infrastructure for teaching and learning remains a major hurdle for basic schools in the Balungu electoral area in the Bongo district of the Upper East region. Almost all the pupils of Balungu JHS and Primary and Balungu Nabisi JHS and Primary study on the bare floor because they have inadequate furniture.
In the class, the pupils have no tables and so are forced to hold their books while studying. When JBC News visited Balungu JHS and Primary and Balungu Nabisi JHS and Primary schools, almost all the pupils in the schools were sitting on the bare floor for their classes. At the Balungu Nabisi Primary, the lower primary classroom block had broken windows and doors with no proper desk, compelling all the pupils in those classes to either sit on the bare floor or lie on their stomachs to write. At the Balungu Nabisi JHS, where the news team saw a few desks in the classrooms, the pupils were sitting either in threes or fours at one desk while the rest sat on the bare floor. Some of the pupils who spoke with GBC News said, apart from the inadequate furniture and dilapidated classroom blocks, the schools also lack textbooks. They say the lack of electricity in the area is also affecting ICT classes.
The challenges that we are facing is inadequate chairs. We are appealing to the government to come and help us. We are appealing to government to give us electricity.
Most of the communities in the Balungu electoral area, including Tindongo, Azobia, Asobre, Abagri, Tua, and Atule Zoko, are in dire need of potable water. Other communities yet to be connected to the national grid include Agumbo and Gamlagrim. The assembly member for the Balungu electoral area, Mr. Edward Asekre, is worried about the lack of furniture and educational materials.
The furniture situation is sad, as you saw yourself. It's nothing to this, and I saw that you see half of the population sitting on the floor. In the busy school that were here, the population is about 635. Now, about 300 students sit on the floor.
At the Balungu Technical Institute, the acting principal of the school, Mr. Robert Agelingo Aguro, said the school was established in 2015 by community members. He appealed to government to absorb the school.
So we are appealing to the government to come to our aid, absorb the school, so that we'll be able to train the students, as it is the aim of the government to prioritize the technical school.
The concern of many parents is for decent classrooms, furniture, relevant books, and competent teachers, among others, for their walls. The appeal is for the necessary structures and materials for a high literacy rate in the area and for the stepping up of efforts to achieve Sustainable Development Goals SDGs Goal 4. For GBC News, Samuel Ayama reporting, Balungu.
Apollonia Methodist Primary School in Apollonia at Katamanso in the Greater Accra region says encroachers have stolen about 11 acres of its land meant for the school's expansion. An old boy of the school, Mr. Daniel Tete, is therefore calling on the police, the municipal chief executive and other relevant authorities to help stop the spate of illegal land sales in that area.
The complaint of residents of Apollonia about unauthorized sale and encroachment of land in their town has been ongoing for some time now. At the Apollonia Methodist Basic School, 11 acres of land for the purpose of expanding the school has been sold by unknown persons.
We cannot take the laws in our hands, so we have appealed to the MP and then the chief executive to make sure that all lands be earmarked for development must be stopped. And we'll do everything within our powers to resist it. How can some group of people go and sell the land that has been earmarked for the cemetery, for the police station? I think this is uncalled for.
At the launch of the school's 75th anniversary, speakers, including the chief of Apollonia and school authorities, complained about illegal land sales, which they say is taking a major toll on development in the area. An old boy of the school and resident of the area, Mr. Daniel Tete, blamed the buyers of the land for failing to go through the legal processes for such acquisition.
If our people should sell this land for their personal interest, and they are not thinking about the large interest of the community, what kind of legacy are we leaving for the next generation? And I think it's something that is very, very worrisome.
The Apollonia Methodist Primary turns 75 in a few months. It is the oldest primary school in the area. Aside the stealing of a large portion of the school's land, the school building, which has seen better days, is now deteriorated and saddled with other issues, including the lack of toilets for both staff and pupils. And without a fence wall, miscreants, including weed smokers and stray animals, take over the compound after school hours and during vacation. Pupils have also been occasionally run over by motorists who use the road in front of the school.
The Herculean task of ensuring a clean environment is not the sole responsibility of duty bearers. Sanitation experts say every citizen has a role to play in keeping the environment clean by behaving responsibly. This was a consensus at a stakeholders dialogue on sanitation at WA in the Upper West region.
Sanitation remains one of the biggest challenges confronting metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies. This ranges from waste disposal to collection and management. Poor sanitation is linked to transmission of many diseases, including cholera and diarrhea. Experts say the sanitation problem is attitudinal. This is the reason the Graphic Communications Group is collaborating with Zoom Lion to change the negative attitudes of the people. Mr. Hassan Zakaria, a chief sub-editor of the Daily Graphic, said the forum will be organized in all the regions of the country. The Director of Corporate Affairs of Zoom Lion, Ms. Emma Oseidia, said the company will continue to collaborate with the government to address sanitation challenges facing the country. The dialogue was rounded up with a clean-up exercise at the Central Business District. The participants swept the lorry station and desilted choked gutters. The WA Municipal Environmental Health Officer, Mr. Paul Mona, said weak enforcement of the sanitation bylaws are to blame for the bad sanitation situation. The forum was organized by the Graphic Communications Group Limited and Zoom Lion.
A 45-year-old construction laborer and resident of Michelle Camp, Kakasunanka No. 2, Mr. Seydou Moro, is appealing for $9,000 to enable his 5-year-old son to undergo an open heart surgery. The infant, Seydou Abdul Kafa, was in 2019 diagnosed of pink tetralogy of Fallot, a hole in heart condition and seizure disorder at the National Cardiothoracic Center.
Seydou Abdul Ghaffar is the last of 4 children. As a result of his condition, he is unable to thrive. He can neither speak nor make gestures for his needs due to delayed developmental milestones. According to his father, Gaffar's mother sells porridge by the roadside and is meted with stigma and hardly attracts any buyers whenever Ghaffar accompanies her.
Me hu nyina awe me twama ni ba bia enye yie nti ska no so omo demand so on person omo ye akra na operation no holding heart ene ha no omo se ntokuro didadada na kuma.
I am appealing to the public for support because I cannot afford it.
Na nyankopon nti menji akura yi nkwa ensi ho no.
Seydou Abdul Ghaffar needs $9,000 for his open heart surgery. Donors who wish to support him can do so through MTN mobile money number 0248 527 586, account name Seydou Moro, or 0241 925 480, account name Fuseina Seydou. Alternatively, payments could be made directly to the National Cardiothoracic Center on behalf of 5-year-old Seydou Abdul Ghaffar.
GBC News and GTV. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with more stories. Please stay.
There are strong women whose stories teach us perseverance, logic, decisiveness and self-confidence. Being strong is not just about physical abilities, but also emotional.
Welcome back. Now in business, the closure of toll booths across the country had been met with mixed reactions. It is early days yet to quantify the benefits to be derived from the free flow of vehicular movement at these toll booths, which had become hubs for gridlocks, but it is obvious that commercial drivers are making a lot of savings.
This is the hustling and bustling that goes on the stretch of the Medina-Ebri Road. The road until last Wednesday had a toll booth where drivers who used that stretch paid their tolls. Hawkers on that stretch too had a good day when traffic at the toll was at its peak. However, that announcement by the Finance Minister on the 17th of November has led to the abolishment of tolls on all public roads. Some motorists are hailing the closure of the toll booth at Ayimensa because the traffic congestion has reduced significantly and they are making some savings. Interestingly, Kwame Lebi, a trotro mate who plies the Medina to Ekropon Road, and Kweku Seth, a driver, said they rather wish fuel prices were reduced and were ready to pay any increase on toll levies.
It is not good for me because it is not all of us who own cars. We want to reduce the price on fuel instead of removing the tolls.
Workers at the tolls and hawkers were not happy, saying their source of livelihood had been taken away. A hawker, Victoria Boko, said the government should have informed them a month ahead of time so they make adequate preparation to relocate elsewhere for their trade.
Government should inform us ahead of time because we work with loans.
In a related development, the gridlock at the Amrahia toll booth on the Adenta Dodua Road has eased considerably. However, one major hurdle that needs to be cleared at the Amrahia toll booth is the speed ramps. Commercial drivers say the removal of these speed ramps will ensure free flow of vehicular traffic. Just like the hawkers at the Ayimensa toll booth, those at the Amrahia toll booth were also complaining that they will hardly get customers to patronize their wares.
6 years now. We are not told this way in Korea school.
However, medical experts say hawking by the roadside, especially near toll booths, come with a lot of health challenges. The inhalation of the car fumes exposes these hawkers and workers in the toll booths to all kinds of respiratory diseases.
The Public Procurement Authority plans to integrate procurement reforms into broader workings of the public sector. This is to ensure that changes with procurement systems are aligned and properly sequenced with changes occurring in other parts of the public sector. The acting chief executive of the PPA, Mr. Frank Mante, said procurement reforms will be transformed from a technical and procedural reform critical to national reform process. He was speaking at the authority's 10th annual public forum in Accra.
Procurement Authority in turning the wheel of the private sector to support the agenda to move Ghana beyond aid is a culmination of a number of interventions seeking to highlight government's efforts at finding sustainable solutions. This plan will be realized through the prudent management of the country's resources that engages competitively with the rest of the world through trade and investment has begun. The strategy is to promote effective, responsible and accountable state machinery with improved capacity to engage the private sector and civil society to draw up policies and strategies to accelerate growth and poverty reduction. At a forum to share ideas, listen to the public on how the PPA is faring and how it can be improved, a Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kuma, said the influence of good procurement practices on public spending is evident by its impact on national spending priorities.
We believe in putting structures to enhance accountability and the ethical custodianship of public resources. Advancing progress across these pillars is the only way to realize a Ghana beyond aid. And for us, the PPA represents a unique opportunity to use our purchasing power strategically to make substantial progress towards a Ghana beyond aid. Through earnest effort, the authority in the past years have recorded savings of approximately 2.3 billion cedis from 2019 August to 2021 on public expenditure.
The Ghana Electronic Procurement System was launched on April 30, 2019, while the second phase started in November 2019 to bring on board all government entities to the system by October 2023, meaning Ghana's public procurement is expected to fully digitalize by October 2023. The acting chief executive of PPA, Mr. Frank Mante, said integrating procurement reforms into broader workings brings change to a large number of constituents.
315 stakeholder engagements that we've held, 303 have gone through some form of training. Out of this, again, 275 have now been set up on the system, and then are expected to use the electronic procurement system in the conduct of their procurement. Once an entity goes live, PPA is always there to support, to provide onboarding, and then on-site for training to ensure that whatever issues the entities might have, PPA will be standing with them throughout the journey to get all these things done.
The forum was on a theme, public procurement, propelling the wheels of the private sector to deliver the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda.
Ghana's hazardous activity framework that monitors child labor and its worst form is obsolete. The last time the country revised the document was in 2012. That's according to National Project Coordinator, ILO Trade for Decent Work, Ikuya Ofore Sumedu. The ILO, together with its social partners and child labor activists, have therefore reviewed and presented a draft document to the Employment Ministry for passage.
Even though the review of the Child Hazardous Activity Framework is still in the process and will have to receive parliamentary approval, one of the major proposals is to outlaw completely any form of child work at all mining sites in the country. Although the current framework completely prohibits children from engaging in beekeeping, gari processing and palm wine tapping, the review is looking at which areas in these three occupations can be opened for child work.
We are looking at what we call the hazardous activity framework and the hazardous activities list and the hazardous sectors. So, for instance, mining is a hazardous sector. No child, regardless of any age, is allowed to be there unless they are more than 18. We have quarrying, we have fishing, we have so on and so forth. And so there is what we call a hazardous activity framework in existence already. It is obsolete because the last time it was reviewed or revised was in 2012. So we're in 2021, almost a decade since it was done.
Last year, Ghana was invited by the International Labour Organization to answer questions relating to delay and discrepancies in child labor reporting. Although Ghanaian authorities say so much has been done to eradicate child labor, the unavailability of data and the promptness of same appears to be affecting Ghana's ratings globally.
This year, Ghana was invited to go and provide responses to some of the issues they raised on Convention 182. That was in June, and that were dealing with people, children that were involved in child labor. When they withdraw them, we didn't have enough information on what government is doing. But I think at the conference, we were able to provide information, even getting data on prosecution that have been made.
All over the world, the international community is shying away from produce cultivated with traces of child labor and its worst forms. The ILO, with support from the European Union, under the Trade for Decent Work project is therefore supporting Ghana to better monitor and report and eradicate child labor. As part of lined-up activities, community child protection committees in cocoa growing areas are receiving training on latest trends in child labor reporting and prevention. Community child protection committees play a crucial role in supporting labor officers at the district level in the fight against child labor. The latest to receive the training are committees from Basar and Kwanta and Sushen in Payem communities in the eastern region.
We advise them not to allow their children to work with sharp tools that can damage them. And also, we talk to them not to let their children, those from 15 years going, to work not more than 2 hours in a farm, or leave them alone to go to the farm without guardians.
Child labor is any form of work that deprives children of their childhood, dignity, potential, and harmful to their physical and psychological well-being.
And finally, in business, Rwandan High Commissioner to Ghana, Dr. Isaac Kirabakasira, has encouraged the youth to sharpen their skills to take Africa's industrialization agenda a notch higher. She also called on them to visit Rwanda, meet their peers, and form partnerships to scale up their investments to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area. She said this at a ceremony to graduate some TVET trainees from the Design and Technology Institute in Accra.
The Design and Technology Institute is a hub for engineering and design practice established in March 2016. The institute seeks to provide a platform for students from the various universities, polytechnics, technical and vocational institutions to gain industry experience by working closely with artisans and supported by experienced instructors. Students are further exposed to the field to enable them experience at first hand what transpires in the industry. This is to help bridge the gap between the school curriculum and the world of work. After the training, learners are graduated to fully practice on their own. A total of 77 trainees have successfully graduated from the one-year intensive training program in precision fabrication and precision quality. The acting director, DTI, Madam Jemima Jackson, urged the learners to use the skills they have acquired to help reduce the unemployment in the country.
DTI has also aligned its vision and mission with the requirements of MasterCard and its expectations for the youth, which is to provide young people with employable skills and for them to enter employment either as workers or generate their own work as entrepreneurs.
The chief executive of DTI, Madam Constance Swanika, said the institute is committed to removing barriers that restrict access and success in TVET studies through teaching and learning.
DTI came along to give them an opportunity to learn in a protected environment. The DTI training gave them both soft skills and hard skills experience in existing successful Ghanaian industries. At DTI, we are aware that most of these students come from very difficult environments. So we provided the space for both training as well as residential living. We taught these students self-reliance by ensuring that even though the MasterCard Foundation was paying 90% of their fees, these students had to pay the remaining 10%. And this was something we didn't joke about.
The training is in collaboration with the MasterCard Foundation Young Africa Works project. The foundation hopes to enable 30 million young people, particularly young women, to have access to dignified and fulfilling work by 2030.